What is up, guys? It is about 5 a.m. Central Time. I'm in the middle of an all-nighter studying for my marketing test that I have tomorrow, and a money and banking economics test I have on Thursday, and a presentation that I have on Thursday, not to mention grappling practice I have in between. So, needless to say, I need to pull all-nighters to study. I'm kind of jittery off of caffeine right now, trying to stay awake and not like pass out. But I was really deciding I wanted to, make a video since, as Byron says, I'm a machine with making videos. It's still kind of new and fun to me. Once I start learning all the cool little things I can do with it, and maybe it'll get even cooler for me. But at the moment, I'm just having fun with it. I was thinking, I haven't seen too many debates or really ideas about the transition mixed martial arts has taken from, you know, technicians to athletes, pure athletes coming into the sport. I say that because I was just thinking back to the day when I was making my quiz on Facebook. Actually, it's pretty funny. Uh, I was looking over my Facebook questions, and I had a question on there that says, "Who won UFC number one?" And so far, I've only had four people that take it, but besides myself and Mike Mildred, only one person has gotten. I mean, nobody's gotten it right. I mean, Hoist Gracie won UFC one, the beginning. He won it, but people think Dan Severn or Ken Shamrock won it. So it got me thinking, and I asked the people about it afterwards. Well, they think, well, I remember those were bigger guys, and I know what Hoist Gracie looks like, and he just got beat by Matt Hughes, and he wasn't that big of a guy. I remember he was good, but he was never that big, so I didn't think he won it all. So it makes me think of the transition it went to, because I remember. Well, I don't remember because I hadn't really gotten into MMA. I think it started off in '93, I believe it was, '91, sometime around there. And I was still, young kid, 8 years old, and I remember watching it and thinking, man, that's a really cool thing. And then I always was curious how this little skinny Brazilian guy was beating these guys that were just so much bigger than him. Because I've always grown up, watching the pro wrestling, that the bigger the guy, the scarier the guy, unless you bring a chair in or the referee doesn't see you smack the guy with a chair or you win by cheating, that the bigger guy's usually going to beat you. That's usually how it goes in wrestling. That's why Hulk Hogan was such a big thing. I mean, that was my mentality at 8 years old, 10 years old, and so, and that's what I grew up knowing. And to be honest, to a certain extent, it's very true. I mean, we hear it all the time how nowadays the bigger guy usually wins, and that got me thinking. When did it go from technique, knowing technique, to pure athleticism? When did that go? When did flukes like Kevin Randleman, because when he came out, I think he won the world title because he was a good wrestler and he was ridiculously strong and athletic. I mean, explosive, crazy guy. One of the best athletes ever to come out there. Ever to come, probably still one of the best athletes ever to be in the sport. Fortunately, he never transitioned. He never learned the additional techniques. He just stuck to the one-dimensional wrestling and wrestling and wrestling and wrestling, unfortunately. So, I was starting to make a little linear chart, and feel free if any of y'all do blogs. Some of the Stickum guys, I'm pretty sure Mike Chase, Byron, Evan, those are guys from Stickum. If y'all don't know, that's Mio Dread, Byron Giant, and UFC Kid. And Chase is, of course, the Phantom UFC fan. Uh, Feel free to make a response to this and what y'all think, because I'm really interested. Thinking about how when Matt Hughes gets started, and I was having this debate with a buddy of mine. Yeah, you can tell I'm kind of jittery because I'm ranting like a motherfucker right now. It's really ridiculous. But a buddy of mine and I, after grappling practice on Monday, were discussing this, and he was basically saying wrestlers are pretty much the best in the MMA right now, and I kind of agreed with him. But I said, you got to look back at it though. These wrestlers weren't the best to begin with. I think wrestling's a good base, but you look at Matt Hughes. He got subbed by Dennis Hallman twice, and I think it's under 3 minutes together. How he actually probably under 2 minutes together. How he got subbed. He's gotten subbed by B.J. Penn. I mean, he got actually should have been subbed by Carlos Newton outside of passing out and Carlos Newton getting knocked out by that slam. So I mean, athleticism doesn't count for a lot of things. I think Jeremy Horn basically made Matt Hughes what he is today because he taught him a lot of that technique that he needed and turned him into something he was. I don't think if Jeremy Horn wasn't there, I don't think Matt Hughes, and I think even Matt Hughes would say it, Matt Hughes wouldn't be where he is today. I think he'd just be a one-dimensional wrestler, ground and pounder. Same thing for Randy Couture. I mean, no offense to Valentin, I can't pronounce his first name right, Overeem, the older Overeem, but the only thing he's got is a guillotine, the Overeem guillotine. They patented it almost, and he guillotined Randy Couture. Several other people have subbed Randy Couture. Uh, and I guess it wasn't until he learned how to defend these subs that he actually became the man that he is today, the great that he is today. Whereas before, he was very one-dimensional, very, very limited. So I guess what ended up happening was these athletes learned the techniques that were beating them. They learned what Royce Gracie, this little Brazilian, had to teach, and they used it. And now it's no longer a test of who's better with technique. It's more of a test of who's the most athletic. Because to be honest, when you look at it, who has better technique, Thiago Tavares or Tyson Griffin? I think Thiago Tavares has better technique when it comes to the ground, and I think he proved it. But Tyson Griffin is just so big and so athletic, and so strong, and has such a better base wrestling wise that he was able to pull the decision. I think if this was a grappling match, well, he probably still would win because he gained guard a lot more and he would have won on points. But Thiago Tavares was basically giving him a really good grappling lessons. I mean, when you climb a guy's back as often as he did and just hold on to his back and get the body triangle on there, it was pretty impressive. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I really like Thiago Tavares. Uh, Aoki. I mean, I can't say that he's one of them. He's a very consummate athlete, but he's such a big guy that you don't know. I don't know how great of an athlete he is. I think he's 90% technique, 10% athlete. And unfortunately, I think that's going to come back and haunt him once he slows down a little bit because he's still athletic enough that he's fast and he's limber and his technique helps him get through a lot. But one of these, I mean, not even one of these days, sooner or later, I'm pretty sure when he fights a really good wrestler like Sean Shirk or a really good, maybe Matt Hughes, George St. Pierre. That's a lot of the reasons why George St. Pierre is as good as he is. He's just such a great athlete. He's got good technique, but I think it's more because he's an athlete. And I think that's what the big thing is right now. You're getting these really good athletes coming in, and it's going to get even better. But, it's also kind of depressing because I've never had a real dream of being a mixed martial artist, but, I'm not a natural born athlete. And there's a lot of guys out there that have great technique, that have, textbook technique, or even, like Eddie Bravo like technique, who could just invent stuff like the rubber guard, like the, submissions that are prodigies when it comes to submissions that, just won't have that ability. BJ Penn is natural. I don't want to say athlete because he's not very athletic per se, but he's very talented. He's got natural technique, natural talent. And I think eventually it's going to catch up to him, and, it's already starting to catch up with him. Whereas before he could walk through opponents with his just on his technique and his talent, he can't do that anymore. I mean, George St. Pierre proved it. Matt Hughes kind of sort of proved it when B.J. Penn's ribs gave out and Matt Hughes was able to beat him. I think Sean Shirk will prove it when he basically just physically smothers B.J. Penn. A lot of people disagree with me, but then again, B.J. Penn, despite his horrible numbers right now, but despite his horrible showings, has a huge nut hugger following. I don't know why. I mean, that guy's got all the talent in the world, but he hasn't proven me anything. I don't even consider him a top 10 lightweight right now. But that's just my opinion. But I'd like to hear y'all's opinion. So go ahead and leave me a comment or make a reply blog or our blog, vlog, I guess, and let me know. I'm interested. All right, later.